Oh, there I am. Sorry. So, welcome everybody, and we are live on the Stano Show. I apologize there. I had the mic disabled. And welcome to the show. Second episode. I hope you were able to watch my last episode on Raiders of the Lost Ark, how I started to love movies. And this week, yes, it is all about Star Wars. We are going to talk a lot about Star Wars, the movies, just the movies. I am going to go through a lot of what I like, which ones are my favorite, go through some of my favorite scenes. Hopefully, some of you are listening in and you'll be able to give me your thoughts on the movies. Maybe afterwards, after you watch this, you'll be able to go through and give me some comments below of what you think of the Star Wars movies, what's your favorite scene, what you like, what you dislike. I'm going to just test my chat out here. If you have any questions, I have a live chat going. I'm just going to put a hi in there. So hopefully everybody can see that. So we are live. And again, we're going to talk about the Star Wars movies. And we're going to go in the order. We're going to go from episode 1 through episode 9. Now, you see on this list here, I have Solo and I also have Rogue One. I will be talking about those two in the end. Let me go back to my last screen. I just want to make sure my my music is off here. And it is. So let me go back here. We are going to talk about episode 1 through episode 9. And we will go back and we will talk about Rogue One and we will talk about Solo in the end. So, Star Wars. It's probably been one of my favorite franchises since I was a kid. Watching it over and over again. The original 4, 5, and 6, I must know by heart. I could actually sit in a room with my back to the TV, and I could just every scene I could just talk out myself. Every scene in the movie, but it's just been a part of me. When they're on TV, I'll watch them once in a while. And we're going to get into starting with episode 1 all the way through 9. And maybe we just start off getting there now. So episode 1, a lot to talk about here. Let me first say, when episode 1 was announced, I was very excited. Couldn't wait to see it in the theaters. It was so many years since the last Star Wars, since like Return of the Jedi, and now digital technology was in. It was getting better, so Lucas decided it was time to create this next trilogy, going back to when Darth Vader was a kid. And one thing I want to say, if you go back and look at episode 1 behind the scenes, one thing I noticed, I know there's a whole thing about Jake Lloyd being picked as Anakin, but if you go back and watch behind the scenes of that movie, when they were auditioning the 3 kids for Anakin, actually I thought the other 2 were a little bit better than Jake Lloyd. There was one kid in there that was blonde-headed, who was, I thought, a lot better. I thought Jake Lloyd's parts when he was like saying, "Oh, it's the most beautiful thing in the galaxy." I didn't think it was overacting. The other kids just were so much better. And, I know Lucas handed it off to others there and let them also pick who they thought. And they picked Jake. And, okay, you make mistakes, But one thing I'm not going to get into here is Jar Jar Binks. We all know about Jar Jar Binks. Lucas also said that he was the key to the movie. Well, I think he was another disaster for the movie. Everybody knows that today. Jar Jar Binks was terrible. You go and see the movies now, and when they brought out episode 2 and 3, Jar Jar comes on the screen. Some people booed. I really booed. But yeah, I mean, it was a mistake there with Jar Jar. I didn't think he was that funny. Yeah, it was amazing what they did. Yeah, the technology was just amazing. And the digital effects were just out of this world. I mean, even there's extended scenes of the pod race that were just out of this world. The pod race went on. I mean, I thought even without the extended scenes, I thought the pod race went on a little bit too long. But it was pretty cool. It was pretty cool. And Jake Lloyd was good in those scenes. If you watch just some of his reactions and when he's just going through the race, you could see his acting was pretty good there. He wasn't because he had no dialogue hardly, but it's a good scene. And that's probably, and I have a shot here. That's probably one of my favorite scenes in the movie, is the pod race scene. Just it's fast. The crash and the explosions, things that were going on with the sand people shooting at the pods, I thought were really cool. But yeah, I mean, it was really good. It was a really good scene. The acting in the movie, I thought was a little dry in the beginning. I think the writing was bad. I think Natalie Portman, she did a really good job, but I think when she saw more visual of what she was going to see digitally, she understood it better in episodes 2 and 3. But Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan, he was perfect as Obi-Wan. Perfect as Obi-Wan. Liam Neeson as Qui-Gon, he was really good. I didn't like that, he was killed off. And Darth Maul, he was excellent. I wish that character went on to episode 2 and episode 3, but we had to introduce Jango Fett, and then that whole story, and we'll get into that in episode 2. But I think one of my other favorite scenes was the duel between Darth Maul and Obi-Wan. I mean, just really, really action-packed, like fast-paced. I wish there was extended scenes of that. I mean, you can watch it over and over again, but then after you watch it, you're like, man, why did they add more? Why wasn't there more added to that scene? I remember seeing it in the theater for the first time. And that's one thing I want to bring up. When episode 1 came out, I slept out for tickets like everybody did. I got probably like 2 hours sleep. It was a cold night. Everybody was up. It was close to my wife's birthday. Actually, her birthday was the next day while I was still sleeping. The next morning before the ticket booth opened up, and they serenaded her there for her birthday. It was pretty funny, but yeah, it's something I wanted to do, and it was just a lot of fun. But I think the other thing that was exciting about episode 1, seen in the theater, was the night I saw it was midnight showing, first show, and there had to be over, at that time there were still the plastic lightsabers. There had to be like over 200 to 300 lightsabers in the theater, and when a long time ago in the galaxy far, far away came up, and then Star Wars hit the screen, and you've seen it online. It's just the roar of the crowd. It just got just goosebumps. Even to this day when I watch videos of it, it still brings back a lot of memories, and I still get those goosebumps just seeing all those lightsabers raised in the air, and it was pretty cool. But then when the movie started, it just like it got silent, and everybody like paid attention to the movie. And like I said, the story wasn't that good. He had to start it from somewhere. And Lucas, we know, wrote this from scratch. But getting back to the lightsaber scene, I wish it could have been a little bit longer. It just was so fast paced, and when he splits Darth Maul's lightsaber in half, and he's flipping around and everything, it just was really cool. I remember the second time I saw it, my wife, we were leaning like forward on the scene. Like I remember sitting back in my chair in the theater, and then we leaned forward at that scene just to like take it all in, So I mean, out of episode one, I mean, the pod race and the lightsaber scene there was probably my favorite part of that movie. And then we had to wait, right? We had to wait, what, 2-3 years until episode 2 came out, Attack of the Clones. Still, it was a good movie, okay? The acting was a little bit better. We knew the love story was going to happen. We knew there was going to be Attack of the Clones. There was going to be a Clone War starting. And we saw that, right, on that one planet where they were battling on that one planet. I can't remember the name of the planet, but one of my favorite shots in that movie is, this is before that, when they were creating the clone army. When Obi-Wan fights Jango as Jango's trying to escape. That was a really, really, really cool scene, I thought, of Jango and Obi-Wan, and it was raining, right? So they had to film that in the rain. Like they were filming that in studio with rain. And it just was really cool. And he wraps him around. He's pulling Obi-Wan around, and Obi-Wan throws the tracker on the Jango ship, Slave One. Which was it called, Slave One? I don't know. Leave a comment below. I don't know. Was the Jango ship called Slave One? I don't remember. I know Boba Fett, his son, his was called Slave One. So I wasn't sure if what his ship was called. Was it Slave, just Slave? I don't know. But yeah, so he throws the tracker on him, and it's hard to see this shot, but this is the scene where he's following him, and Jango sees it, and he does that seismic charge into the asteroids, and it just like went dead silence and then shot out. Listen to that in surround sound. That is really cool. That is just a really, really cool scene. Just like, and I wish there was more of that, but there wasn't. He only did 2 of those. And just there's also some behind the scenes of episode 2 where you can see how they created the sound for the seismic charge in Skywalker Sound. It's really interesting to see how they create these sounds for that scene. And again, when the seismic charge goes off, there's no other sound, just the seismic charge, and then it just silence and then explodes. Just really cool, really cool. So moving on, then they start the battle at the end. This was really, I like this scene a lot. These were those ships that were flying, and there were some like really fast close-ups they did of the ship. And Yoda was on this ship, and the battle there was really good. Coming up was the lightsaber scene with Yoda and Count Dooku, played by Christopher Lee, excuse me. Christopher Lee, what a great actor. One of my favorite. Get in as I'm a very big Bond fan, so you're probably going to see on this channel someday soon when I'm going to go through the Bond movies, and there's a lot to go through, over 20 some, right? And I love the Bond movies, so we'll get into that in another episode. But yeah. This scene really cool. A lot of battling going on, and then we get to Yoda and the big Yoda fight scene with Count Dooku. It was really cool because this was the first time they were using a digital Yoda. In episode 1, they actually used a puppet, and the puppet looked really bad. But then in episode 2, they went into creating a digital Yoda, and I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, go back and put a comment below or in the chat if you like, is that I think they digitalized Yoda in episode 1. They went back and revamped it and made him a digital Yoda. I'm not sure. I think they did. I can't remember. That's why, because I don't watch episode 1 a lot, because I don't like 1, 2, and 3 at all. But I remember this scene with Yoda in the theater. I just remember how everybody was, it was cool. Yoda's going to fight. Everybody was cheering because they knew it was going to happen. And what I thought was funny was everybody was laughing when he was flipping around fighting Count Dooku. It was a funny scene, but a pretty cool scene to see Yoda, fighting, and see his power of the Force in that scene. So then we wait another 2, 3 years, right? And Revenge of the Sith comes out, and you're like, okay, can it get any better? To be honest, we knew you knew that Amidala was going to have the twins. You knew that Anakin's going to become Darth Vader. The battle scene with Obi-Wan and Anakin on the lava planet. I mean, I really didn't like the scene. I just, they're jumping all around. It's pretty cool. It was just a little bit too much. I mean, yeah, and then in the end, he burns up. He creates, you were the chosen one. You were supposed to be the chosen one. It's a great scene. I got the high ground. I mean, it was okay. I mean, it's just, like, okay, he's going to become, Anakin's going to become Darth Vader. And then to make it even worse, when he becomes Darth Vader, it's the whole, like, coming off of the table, everybody said he looked like Frankenstein. I mean, I understand it's the first time you're walking, but it just could have been a lot better. And James Earl Jones, God bless him, the voice of Darth Vader. His voice, I mean, it was okay in that scene because it's new, right? Maybe because they were trying to figure out, like, this is he's just using this voice thing for the first time, and just James Earl Jones' voice was just okay for the first time as Darth Vader there. I just, that Frankenstein scene, it didn't give me. It was so happy that it was over those first three. And then you go back now, years later, you look at them, and it's just like, okay. And they're re-releasing them in the theaters now, right? And people are going to see them again. That's great, right? But still, it's just so hard to watch. They're just so hard to watch. Moving on, we get to the original Star Wars. Now, as a kid, when I saw this, I was 1977. I remember I was down the Jersey Shore. It was a hot summer. It was really hot. And we stayed in the house with my grandparents. And my grandparents, there was no, back then, we didn't have it. There was no air conditioning. We rented the house. And we would go to the movies like maybe once or twice in that 2 weeks. And back then there was tons of movie theaters on, the island, down the Jersey Shore on one of the islands we were at. And they had movie theaters back then around that, in those towns. But nowadays they're all gone because, they just, they're only good in the summer, and the locals down there really don't go to the movies that much. There's really not a lot of people down there. But I remember going to see this as a kid, and it was a hot summer, and I fell asleep. I actually fell asleep because I was tired from the heat. It was an air-conditioned movie theater. It was a huge movie theater. It was one of those. It's not like the theaters you have today where you have 25 screens. This is like, it was one theater, like gigantic screen, just a huge, like almost like you're going to a Broadway play. And I remember seeing the opening, and I think I didn't even last to when they Obi-Wan was introduced. But I remember this opening scene, right? And to this day, it's still good. And, just this battle in the beginning, and when the stormtroopers get on to Leia's ship, it's just a great scene. And I have a lot of scenes here I like. I'm going to get into. Then we get to the Han scene. And as you see here, you see Greedo and Han both shooting. But we all know the original. Han shot first, and Han was the only one that shot, right? And when they created the special edition, it just made the scene so bad. I mean, I wish that these could be the original 4, 5, and 6 can be re-released to their original airing was, So the version I have here is, both of them shooting, but we all know that Han shot first. Han was the only one that shot. It's just so hard. And it's still a great scene. I mean, Harrison Ford's acting here is just awesome. Like, looking away, distracting, so he can open up his holster and then slowly pulling out his blaster. It's still great to watch. It really is. So let's move on now. And then the next one, I think the next shot here is when they're leaving Tatooine, Mos Eisley Spaceport. This is the special edition shot when the Millennium Falcon was lifting out of the docking bay, and the original one you didn't see this shot. I actually like this in the special edition. I like the way the ship lifted off out of the docking bay and then took off. In the original, all you did was see it just fly off, and the stormtroopers turn around and they see it. I remember my father saying, I always liked that scene because the stormtroopers looking back, seeing the ship taking off. But when they added this, I think they kept that flying off part, and they actually made it a little bit better than Millennium Falcon flying away and the stormtroopers turn around. But when it was actually taking off here, I thought this was really, really, really good scene. Really good to add, like out of the special editions. Keep this, right? This was a cool scene. I like this a lot. And it's only like a matter of 2 to 3 seconds to shot. But it's a great shot. It's a great shot of the Millennium Falcon taking off and then flying away. And then moving on, we have, the three meet up for the first time. We got we know they're saving Leia here, and this is the whole they're in the hangar, well, the corridor there to save Leia, and there's no way out. So then they go into the trash compactor. But this whole scene here when they're fighting the stormtroopers, and even before that, when Harrison Ford and Han Solo, right before the stormtroopers blow through the elevator door, he's like, get behind me, and he just and then the door blows up. Go online and watch this. There's a behind the scenes where the explosion was so big that it actually blew walls out of the set, and it just, because the explosives were so big that it blew actual walls out that weren't supposed to. Then the stormtroopers were falling all over the floor because it was so slippery. It's a pretty funny scene. It was cut out, but that whole scene there, and then they're going, and then they fall into the trash compactor. The trash compactor scene's okay, right? I always wonder why they're walking around in the trash compactor, right? And then Luke gets sucked in by that creature in the trash compactor, and then like they can't find him. Like he goes real deep. How come they weren't really deep when they're walking around? I always wondered that. Like, how did Luke get real deep, but then like when they're standing around, they weren't deep? Like they couldn't. Was there a hole there? Like, was there an edge that if they walked a little further, they would fall in? They should have kind of said something like, but you didn't know. Like Luke just went down and under, and then he comes popping up afterwards when the creature let him go. But we all know this is another one of my favorite scenes right here. And I say about the original trilogy, Lucas, lightning in a bottle. It was lightning in a bottle. Getting these three actors that he wanted, the chemistry between the three was really good, and it lasted for episode 4, 5, and 6. So moving on, then we know what happens to Obi-Wan here. This is a great scene. And you know what I always wonder too? If you watch this here, this little opening here, if you go back and watch the scene where the Millennium Falcon's leaving the docking bay, I think it's the actual same set, right? Because if you look in the background, this opening here is in the background. It's the same set. They just never moved. I think they didn't move the Millennium Falcon. I don't know. If anybody knows that, leave a comment below. Because I always wondered that. When you watch them, when he's in there, like saying, he says, when he's in the docking bay, and Luke says, oh, what a piece of junk. And he goes, it'll make 0.5 in light speed. It doesn't look like it. It's got what it counts, kids. I did a lot of modifications myself, right? If you look in the background, this opening is there. Right? I think it's the same set. They just fixed it up to look like the inside the Death Star. But again, we know what happens to Obi-Wan here. He gets killed, and then we have the Millennium Falcon escapes, and they have the battle with the TIE fighters chasing after the Millennium Falcon, which is a good scene. And Lucas got that off of an old, like a B-17 bomber with the gunners on the side. That's where that all came from. If you watch some behind the scenes, they show you actual scenes of a bomber and the gunners on the side, and that's where you got the idea from the Millennium Falcon and two guns, one up, one below. I like that scene a lot, but this is just a great shot right here. If you go back and watch the original too, when the doors are closing after Obi-Wan's killed, you can actually see Darth Vader's lightsaber is not actually glowing. It was just a stick. But then in the newer versions, they actually fixed it, and you can see his glow. But if you go back to an older version, which I have some older versions of it, you could see Darth Vader's lightsaber is not lit up as the doors are closing. You see the lightsaber, you just see the stick. So then, they go to Yavin, I think it is, planet Yavin, and then they go and they fight the Death Star, and the trench scene is always good. It's always a great scene. That's where you see Porkins, right? You see Porkins, who was actually, like I said in the last episode, was in Raiders of the Lost Ark. He's one of the government officials asking Harrison Ford, Indiana Jones, take on the mission of asking about what the Lost Ark is in the library or in the church they were in. That was Porkins. He's in this scene. But the trench scene really is cool. What I like about this, these were the Y-Wings, I think. And the Y-Wings, and when they're in the Y-Wings, what I thought was really cool, they're bouncing up and down. And I got a better scene with the X-Wing fighters that I like, that I'm going to talk about when I get to episode 4, 5, 6, 7. When I get to 7, I'm going to talk about what I like about the X-Wing fighters in that movie. But as we all know, the trench scene here is great. And then, as we know, they blow up the Death Star. And this is from the special edition. As you see, they put this ring of fire in. And pretty cool in surround sound. If you watch this in surround sound or listen to it in surround sound, you'll hear it go by the one speaker, which is really cool. Yeah, it's a good shot there. Then we move on to probably one of the best sci-fi sequels ever, Empire Strikes Back. I mean, this was dark. This was the dark movie of the saga right here, Empire Strikes Back. I saw this movie in Southbridge, Massachusetts, in a small, dinky theater with one speaker in the front of the theater. And this movie was Irvin Kershner. It was the director. Irvin Kershner, and if you go watch some behind the scenes, he cared more about the characters than, the story. It was all about the characters. And that's why the acting, I thought, in this movie, out of all of them, out of 4, 5, and 6, 4 was great. They were great. At the beginning of their chemistry, the acting was really good. But 5, their acting was really good. When I get to Return of the Jedi episode 6, I'll tell you what I think about the acting. But what can you say here? The Tauntauns, really, what a great idea. And they were all done by Phil Tippett, was it, who did the stop motion of these. And nowadays it would all be digital, but this was all stop motion technology. And then like the close-ups, I think the close-ups might have been a horse, if I don't remember. It was a horse underneath it that they used. I'm not sure. If you know what it was, leave a comment below. But the Tauntauns were really cool. And this all on the Hoth planet was really cool. And the ships were flying. The snow speeders, is that what they were? The snow speeders, they were called. They were awesome too. When they were looking for Luke and Han, when Luke gets knocked off his Tauntaun, and then he's the Hoth creature is like a woolly mammoth. It has him hanging upside down, and Luke cuts off his arm. And there was an added scene to that, which was okay. But when Han goes and rescues him, that morning when the snow speeder is trying to find him, and he's hovering over the snow, and there's one shot like from the cockpit, and you just feel like you're going over the mountains in that shot there, which I really liked. And then we had the Battle of Hoth, right? The AT-AT walkers, right? Awesome. I mean, it's all stop motion. What a great idea. Just these heavy armored walkers, and they're attacking the rebels. And it's just, you knew they were going to be outnumbered by these things, and they were hard to bring down, right? And the only way they could get them down, it was like that armor's too strong for blasters, right? That's what Luke said. That armor's too strong for blasters. Row group, use your harpoons and tow cables. Go for the legs. It's our only chance of stopping them. And then Wedge goes around and he knocks one of them down. I think I got a shot of that here. No, I don't. Let me go back here. But Wedge goes around, right, with the tow cable and knocks him down. I had an old Atari game where you could do that, right? I loved it. And there's also another scene here when Luke crashes, right? And then he takes the tow cable from the back of or he took it from the back of Dak, who was killed, his gunner pilot, in the back, and he shoots the tow cable up and then throws the grenade into the AT-AT walker. What a great scene. I mean, it was just awesome, right? It's just like, just all out, this movie. I could go over so many scenes, but awesome. And then we get to the asteroid scene, right? Set 271, right? You can't go into an asteroid. They'd be crazy to follow us, wouldn't they? Just this whole scene. It's just awesome. And I'll get into the music. I mean, you can't even, the music, right? Like John Williams and the music, the score here is just really, really, really good. And then we know what happens. They go inside an asteroid, and there's that creature inside the asteroid, and then they fly out. Just an awesome, awesome scene there. And then we get to Dagobah and Yoda. We're introduced with Yoda for the first time, and they're like, would a puppet work, right? And did it work? It did. Like this, Frank Oz doing the voice of Yoda. Try not, do or do not. There is no try. What a great, great line. Just the way Yoda talks backwards. I know there's video on YouTube that Lucas talks about why Yoda talks backwards, but just the scene of that, and when Yoda lifts the X-Wing fighter out of the swamp, and he tells Luke, that is why you fail, right? He can't believe he can do it. There's no different, only different in your mind. You must unlearn what you have learned. Just a great, great, great scene. Just back and forth, though. Like, it's two different stories, this movie. This movie's two different stories. You got Luke going off to one planet. You got Han and Leia being chased over by the Empire. Boba Fett's introduced, right? We got Lando Calrissian that comes in, and he goes, what was the name of that planet? I can't remember the name of the planet. Leave a comment below. God, it's drawing a blank. But just that whole, it's just like two different stories in this movie. And one thing I want to point out here. In this scene where I was saying, he says, no different, only different in your mind. And Luke, he says, try not, do or do not. There is no try. And Luke tries to lift the X-Wing fighter out of the swamp, and he can't do it. Go back and watch this very closely. This is where sometimes I'm pretty good on detail here. But when Luke walks away, and right when he's stepping where Yoda is, look at the ground. The ground actually goes down. There was probably a plywood board there, and then they put the shrubs all over that because Frank Oz was underneath there, right? Look very closely when Luke takes a step. When he takes a step, you'll see Yoda just move down a slight bit. You'll see the ground go down a slight bit because there probably wasn't enough reinforcement for that plywood floor, but you see the floor just go down just a little bit, and he walks away. Something I always notice when that scene comes on, but it's something I noticed years ago when I saw the scene. This scene, awesome scene. Just the way it was written, it just was just so well done. And then, of course, they freeze Han, right? And this is after he's frozen, and Darth Vader asks him, Calrissian, is he alive? Yes, he's alive and in perfect hibernation, right? And right before that, the famous "I love you, I know" scene. Just right here, this is very dark. This is when you know this movie's a very dark movie, and you know by the title, "The Empire Strikes Back," because they are really striking back here. And Billy D. Williams as Lando. Wow, right? Can't ask. Great acting. And to be brought into with these other characters, these other actors, and just blend in so well. It's really, really good. The only thing I don't like that they redid Boba Fett's voice, and they took out the original voice of Boba Fett because they had to keep it. Lucas changed everything from episode 1, 2, and 3. He used that the voice of Jango Fett. I can't remember that actor's name for Boba Fett, and they took out the original voice. So if you have a copy of the original of Empire Strike Back, the original voice, I think, is a lot better than the actor that played Jango Fett. And then again, he had the voice of some of the clone troopers, right? In the other movies, it was the same voice. And then we get into the battle with Luke and Darth Vader. Yeah, really good. I liked it a lot. A lot of that battle, right? A lot of that battle, no music, right? No score, right? It was all just lightsaber, sound effects, and just the actors themselves, their dialogue. There was no music, right? Which I thought was really good because you didn't need it. You didn't need it for that scene, right? You didn't need it. It's just a great, great fight scene. And there's a lot of behind the scenes of this at Mark Hamill, and they practiced when they were not filming constantly for this scene. Yeah, a father and son right there before he knew he was his father, right? And you know what else is? We'll get something I can get into later on, but maybe I'll get into it. I don't know, but him and the father thing. But this I love the most when they're leaving. They're escaping. Lando, Leia, Chewbacca. When R2-D2 gets the door open, the music here, the score by John Williams, I just love it as they're escaping, running in this scene. I just love the music. I love the action here. Go back and just watch from when the doors open after R2 passes by. This shot right here, just the music and them getting out, and then Lando and Leia shooting their blasters at the stormtroopers. Awesome, awesome scene. Awesome music, and just the dramatics of this and them trying to escape. This is one of my favorite scenes in Empire Strikes Back right here. And then, yeah, right before Luke's arm or hand gets chopped off, right? And Vader's got him on the ground. He says, "You are beaten. Just, don't let yourself be destroyed as Obi-Wan did." And then they fight there. No music. Just like the sound effects are just so good in that shot. And then the dramatic of when, as soon as Luke's hand gets chopped off, that's when the music kicks in, right? And that's when the famous scene, "I am your father," right there. Just then, like that whole fight scene, no music, right? I mean, wait, there was when Luke falls out the window, right? I was wrong about that. But a lot of here, no music until bang, music, until his hand's chopped off, right? And we know Luke gets out, right? He escapes, Leia picks him up, and, Han is taken away, and we're left hanging. It's like it's a big cliffhanger, right? Because you don't know what's going to happen to Han. The rebels are on the run. The Empire is really taking control. And then we get to Return of the Jedi. Okay, I was so excited to see Return of the Jedi. I saw it not the first day it came out. I saw this, I think the second day, and it was a packed audience. I mean, the Ewoks, they were fuzzy and cute creatures, but to fight an empire, I just no. And I mentioned this earlier. Episode 4, Episode 5, the acting I thought was really good. The just Irvin Kershner caring more about the characters, very good. But in this movie, and I think it was Dennis Marquardt that was the director. I think he's long gone. He passed away. But I just thought the acting here was very dry. I just thought they were just the acting, the dialogue was just very dry in this. There was maybe some scenes where you got a little bit of episode 4 and 5, the acting, but in Return of the Jedi, I just thought it was very, very dry. I like the movie, right? It's out of the trilogy, Empire Strikes Back, and then you have the A New Hope, Episode 4, and Return of the Jedi would be third. Because I thought the acting was dry. There's I really have a lot of really good scenes in this movie. And I can tell you right now, I'll tell you the Jabba scenes. I just didn't like any of it. I knew they had to rescue Han. You knew they had to get Leia, right? So it was okay. I mean, it just was an addition to the movie. Like, Luke, I owe you one. We know all that, right? But then they get to the planet. I can't remember the planet now where the Ewoks were, but Endor. Sorry, Endor. There we go. And the bike chase scene, right? Speeder bikes, awesome, right? Just go back and watch behind the scenes how they filmed all that movement. That was a Steadicam walking through the redwood forest, and the frame rate. I think they sped the camera frame rate faster, so that when they played it back, it looked really fast. The way they ran the camera, but they slow-paced walk through the redwood forest to get all that fast-paced shots. This is okay. You could tell they're in a studio, and a lot of it were puppets. The other shots were puppets, or what can I say, marionettes, right? But that is one of my favorite scenes there, the bike chase scene. And then Ewoks, okay, they're okay, all right, cute. No. They were something to get the kids into the theater. To me, I don't know. Something about the Ewoks. I just can't. Again, I'm gonna say I watched the movie. I'll watch it. There's a lot of good action scenes when the Ewoks are fighting the stormtroopers on Endor. But yeah, okay. Let's just move on from there. And then we get, when they were going after the second Death Star. Yeah, this a lot of this was really good, and they were waiting for Han to shut down the shield that was protecting the Death Star there, and we know Luke goes up to see the Emperor and Darth Vader, and they have their battle again, and Darth turns onto the Emperor, and then Luke takes his mask off, and his father dies in front of him. But that was a really cool scene, and we know they blow the second Death Star up, and the Ewoks helped out, and then they all lived happily ever after, right? And there it is blowing up. I thought inside the Death Star where they had to go and shoot out one of the reactors in there, flying out there was pretty cool. The explosion again, really cool. I think they added that shockwave. Leave a comment below. I think they added that shockwave in the special editions. So we waited years, right? And Disney buys, or Lucas sells the rights of Star Wars to Disney, and we get into Episode 7, right? Which everybody was excited about. Everybody couldn't wait. What was this all about? Who's Kylo Ren, right? Who's this Rey? Harrison Ford coming back as Han Solo, which I'll get into that. Bringing back Leia. It was really good, but I liked the new trilogy, but to me, they really didn't go anywhere, right? It just was. to me, it was not like the original 4, 5, and 6. Um, I liked Ray's character a lot. You thought in episode 8 that you were going to find out who Ray was. You didn't find out till episode 9. It was really hard, and I'll get into it when I get to the next few movies. But in this movie, when they get on the Millennium Falcon, this scene here, when they're being chased after her and Finn, Ray and Finn are in the Millennium Falcon, and they're being chased after, and she's dodging them and going through all the old Star Destroyers here. I thought it was a great, great, great scene, right? Even before they got on the Millennium Falcon, they're running through the sand and things are blowing up. There were real explosions, by the way. They were real explosions in the sand. And that was really cool. I loved all that. Them running around. Stop holding my hand, she says. That was a really good scene. But out of this scene here, and it's only about 2 to 3 seconds. 2 to 3 seconds, right? When you better think of something, or he says something. There's a shot like this. This shot right here, but behind Ray, when she knows she's going to go inside that Star Destroyer, that shot real quick. Listen to the music real quick, like it's like dramatic, and what she's going to do, and the ship's moving. Just that shot right behind her. It's only, like I said, 2 to 3 seconds. I love that shot every time I see it. Every time I see it, I love that shot. And that's one of my favorite scenes right there in episode 7. And then we move on here again. The introduction of Harrison Ford. I remember everybody going nuts when he came on to the Millennium Falcon there. And then there's a funny scene there when the Raptors, right, in his ship. That's really cool. Just Harrison Ford in this was just so Han Solo. It wasn't the Han Solo we saw in Return of the Jedi. It's like the Han Solo we saw in episode 4 and episode 5. In my opinion, that he was back to that Harrison Ford Han Solo we all know. He was too dry in episode Return of the Jedi. But yeah, just awesome. Then here's where I was talking about. Okay, so now they're going, and the same thing with episode 7. It was the same story, right? Just like episode 4. BB-8 had the little piece of something they needed. There was another, almost like a Death Star, but it was on an actual planet they built. I mean, it was almost the same exact story as episode 4, right? Looking back now, right? It's almost the same exact story as episode 4, right? But this is what I wanted to talk about. When they were going to blow up that new Killer Planet gun, right? Go back and watch the scenes of the X-Wing fighters flying around, right? It wasn't like in episode 4 and episode 4 and episode 6 where they're just flying like this, right? Watch the scenes of the X-Wings. They're in the ship like this, like it's bouncing around. It's realistic. There it is. There's my realistic shot right there. Watch every shot of the X-Wings in episode 7. They are so realistic in the cockpit. That's what I like most. There's this. I think on YouTube they cut all those X-Wing scenes together. Go back and watch that because they are moving around like they are in a ship, right? J.J. Abrams, great thought there to put that in. And then when we get to Rogue One, they went back to the old way. Right. But this here and this, oh my God, it was just so much realism inside the cockpit that I liked the most. And as we know, Rey and Kylo Ren fighting here, that was really cool scene. Finn gets really hurt by Kylo Ren. He's unconscious. Rey escapes. And she goes at the end. She goes to find Luke, right? And I remember seeing this in the theater for the first time, and I think my son was with me, and I saw it first without my wife and my son with me. I remember when I remember just saying, "Oh my God, I got all choked up. There's Mark Hamill, there's Luke," and everybody was almost clapping. There he is, like, and you knew in this movie that, uh, uh, look at my niece is on. My uncles always watched Star Wars and made me watch it as a little girl. Yes, I did. Yes, I did. Um, uh, Also, too, we'll maybe get into that. We used to always watch The Karate Kid together, and that'll be another episode. We'll get into The Karate Kid, another one of my favorite movies of all time. But yeah, when Luke turns around here in this scene, I was so excited. I was so choked up, goosebumps in the arm. Uh, it was just so great to see Luke Skywalker again. You wish he was in it a little bit more. You knew he was going to be in it at the end, but a little bit more would have been better. Then we get to The Last Jedi, which I just didn't like the story here. I just thought it was really bad. Luke not wanting to train Rey, that went on for a while. It was okay. Them being the force field and the Star Destroyer was following them the whole time during the movie, and then there's other ships were slowing down and losing power, and then they would blow them up. I just didn't like this movie. There are some good scenes, I have to say. I'll get into that. There are some good scenes, but it just was like, here's what I think about these three movies. J.J. Abrams should have done all three, in my opinion. J.J. Abrams should have filmed all three of these movies. I think would have been a lot better. And I'm not sure if Kasdan, the writer, did them all. He should have wrote them all. But I think Lucas should have, I'm sorry, J.J. Abrams should have directed all these movies, in my opinion. And this one, it was okay. This scene here when Rey's training against that rock, this is a really good shot I like. And Lucas, you could see real off up on the mountain a little bit, you could see Luke watching her. And she actually cuts that rock in half. And I think Luke sensed there she had a little bit of the dark side in her. But he knew there was something there with her. And I think this was right before he started training her. But, yeah, really cool scene there. Her and Kylo Ren, this scene here, it's okay. Snoke gets killed here, right? It's an okay scene. The fight scenes are really good. To me, I don't know. The movie I couldn't get into this movie. And when I saw it, I loved it, right? When I first saw it, I loved it. But afterwards now, it's like, yeah, it's okay. The Salt Planet, that battle was really good. This scene here is when the TIE fighters are shooting and there's just right into it just goes right into the salt. That was really cool. What I didn't like when the Millennium Falcon comes into this shot and Kylo Ren's like, blast that ship out of the sky, and then Finn's like, they hate that ship. They hate that ship. It just was a dumb line. I just didn't like that line. They hate that. Oh, they hate that ship, right? And then the little birds that were in there, the cockpit with Chewie. It was funny, but you had that whole Trent scene again, and it was okay. It just was okay. But then we get into which this is when Luke comes and sees Leia. This, to me, I got choked up here. This is a choke up moment right here. This is brother and sister seeing each other for the first time in so many, maybe hundreds of years, by Star Wars time. But this is just a great scene of this. And then to know this was probably the last scene that Mark Hamill and Carrie Fisher did together is also sad, thinking about what happened to her. But this is just a great scene here. What I like in this too is the light in the background. That's a great shot. The light in the background, and you could just see their silhouette there. I love that a lot. But then also when Luke walks out, when C-3PO says, "Master Luke," and Luke just gives him that wink, right? another scene. You knew, and I think in behind the scenes they almost didn't put it in. They almost didn't put that scene in between Luke and C-3PO, but you had to have that scene because they were together in Episode 4 a lot. Just a great scene right there when he just says that, and it's pretty quick. So moving on. Yes, when Luke walks out here, and Kylo Ren says, "I want every gun fired on that man." I love that line. I want every gun we have fired on that man. And Luke gets fired upon, and he just like wipes it off like that. I just love that scene, right? And that's a pretty cool shot too. It's pretty cool that I got the laser coming out of there. And they're almost like AT-AT walkers, right? I don't know what they were called in this movie. Actually, I don't remember like a lot of the toys from this movie. But that's a good scene right there, which I love. And then you have the fight between Kylo and Luke, and then we all know Luke really wasn't there, right? If you haven't seen it, I'm sorry, but Luke wasn't really there. It was just it was Luke, with his force, which actually kills him from all that power that he put towards to put himself on that planet. He dies in the end. In my opinion, a dumb way for Luke to be killed off. But I think Luke could have been in the next movie. I think it would have been better if Luke was in the next movie. But yeah, that's a pretty cool fight scene there. And you see the power of Luke, how he's gotten more powerful as a Jedi when he was fighting Kylo there. So then we get into the Rise of Skywalker, which I'm sorry. I just could not get into this movie. I think the acting was really good. There were some pretty good scenes. I didn't like that they brought the Emperor back. J.J. Abrams did come back. I heard he was brought back last minute. And I mean, I'll watch it again. I do watch it when it's on. I'll watch it more than I do 1, 2, and 3. But again, when I watch it, I'm like, I didn't like this movie that much. And then to find out she's a Skywalker, like she's part of the Emperor, but she becomes a Skywalker at the end. It was just an okay movie. Again, I'm saying the acting was really good. There was nothing wrong with the acting. The acting was really good in this movie. And there are some good scenes. And one of my favorite scenes is the fight between Kylo and Rey on top of I think this is the second Death Star, right? Pieces of it, and the waves are flying and they're jumping over the waves and they're fighting. That is a really, really good scene right there. I like that a lot. I think that was really cool. And then Rey fights the Emperor at the end. We know what happens. The Emperor dies there, and then Kylo, brings Rey back, and then he dies. There's a kiss scene, which was okay. It's okay. Do you prefer the older movies over the newer ones? Do I prefer the older movies over the newer ones? I prefer 4, 5, and 6 over the newer ones. Yes, like I said, A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi. I prefer the older ones over the newer ones. The newer ones I will watch. I will watch the newer ones today. But this one is of the newer ones. This is the least of my favorite right here of the newer ones. And then we know at the end Rey, has her lightsaber, the yellow lightsaber, and pardon me, but I don't know why she has a yellow lightsaber. You can put a comment below, but she puts the other lightsabers in the ground in the sand, and then she sees Luke and Leia at the end, and she says her last name's Skywalker, and that's how it ends. I thought, okay, she's a Skywalker. I just didn't like the movie as much as in this trilogy. This was probably the second one in this trilogy was the worst. This one, if I ranked them, it would be 7, then 9, then 8. 8 was really bad. Like I said, J.J. Abrams should have been directing all 3. So we talked about episodes 1 through 9, and I said I was going to go back to what was part of these movies, which was Rogue One and Solo. Let me talk about Rogue One. I think Rogue One is one of the best Star Wars movies, in my opinion. Rogue One is just an awesome movie of how they had to steal the Death Star plans in order to blow up the Death Star. And then we go into so Rogue One, as everybody knows, is right before Episode 4, and Rogue One is just a great movie. Yeah, it was a little hard to understand in the beginning. You had to really follow it. And now with Endor, and then I am a fan of Endor. Just to let you know, that's one of the series on Disney Plus. It's not a movie. It's a series, and Endor season 1 was great. I have not watched season 2. I'm going to wait for all the episodes to drop on Disney Plus, and then I will watch season 2. But I hear season 2 is just phenomenal, and season 2 leads up to Rogue One. Endor season 2 leads up to Rogue One, so just to let everybody know that. But Rogue One, I really love. It's one of my favorite Star Wars movies. And we got Jen Iso, right? Really, really great. Great character. Her father is working for the Empire. Her father puts a little glitch in the plans of the Death Star of how to blow it up, and she's got to find those plans and get them to the rebels. And she's a loner, right? She eventually gets in to help the rebels, and that's when we get introduced to God, I lost his name already. But yeah, she has to get those plans, and when they go to get the plans, a lot of these fight scenes and these action scenes on that planet to get the plans were just, in my opinion, really cool. And they're being chased after by these AT-AT walkers, and this AT-AT walker gets this missile shot at him, and then he just turns its head, the AT-AT, and then it comes back, and they think, oh crap, we're going to get killed here. And then the X-Wing fighter comes in and blows it up. That's a really cool scene. But that whole battle scene there, when they're going after the plans, is really cool. It was really cool. I lost my train of thought on this series on Disney Plus. I can't remember it now. But anyway, it's killing me right now. But yeah, this is just awesome, and we know what happens to the two. They shoot the Death Star, shoots onto the planet, and they burn up here. But just an awesome scene. But one of the greatest scenes is when Darth Vader comes in at the end, and he's trying to get the plans back, and he fights those troopers there, the rebel troopers on Leia's ship, and then we know at the very end you see a young Leia, like from Episode 4. That whole scene right there, awesome, because he's coming in, it's all dark, and then his lightsaber lights up the room, and they're running away from him. They're trying to hand the plans off, and then Leia's ship departs there, and if you watch real close, leave a comment below. I may be right, I may be wrong, but when they detach the ship, that's actually the director. When he pulls the thing, that's the director from the movie. He's the one that detaches the ship, and then they fly away, and then Rogue One ends, and then we go right into Episode 4. But go back and watch Rogue One. It is such a great movie. To get these shots, I actually watched a lot of the movie again, and I was like, wow, this is really, really a good movie. So we have Rogue One. Now, one movie that came out was Solo, A Star Wars Story. Go back and watch Solo, please. I've seen Solo twice, and when I went and watched it to get some of these scenes for a third time, Solo's a really good movie. And I heard rumor, maybe a year or two ago that they were going to, fans want another Solo. And because it did so bad in the theater, I think the director was fired, right? And then they brought in Ron Howard. A lot of people probably don't know that Ron Howard actually directed the rest of Solo. There was rumor about the actor that played Solo. He was really bad with his dialogue. They had to bring somebody in to help him. But go watch the movie. I don't think he was bad at all. I thought he was great. You were introduced to other characters that were really good in this movie. There was a love interest in it. And again, I've only seen it twice. I don't remember a lot of the characters' names, but we have Lando Calrissian, who was great in the movie. This, in my opinion, is a really good movie, and it got trashed. It got trashed. The action sequences are really good. Let me just show you some scenes here. Like in the beginning, when he's battling for the when Solo is fighting for the Empire, and he really doesn't want to, right? Just a lot of those scenes there were really, really good. After this scene, he's introduced to Chewbacca, and then you see their friendship being formed. He gets his blaster. And it's Woody Harrelson's character. I can't remember his name, but he starts working for him, and he's like a guy who just steals everything. And his character was really good. This is when him and Chewbacca are first together. Like a little bit afterwards, I think they get captured. They're in a cell together, and Chewbacca is all muddy, and Chewbacca fights Solo here. But it's really, really, it's just a great movie here. Let's see what other scenes I have here. This is when they were stealing from this train. This was just another great scene, just to build the character of how Solo was trying to become a pilot and find his girl again. And to get that, he had to get money. It's just, this scene was just really, really good. Then when he gets into the Millennium Falcon for the first time, and Lando helps him out because they had to steal some. There was something they had to steal. I can't remember what it was. And they had to go to this planet to get it, and Lando helps him. Just the chemistry between the characters here was really good. They get on the planet, they steal the stuff. There's a big battle. Again, that was really good. Let me see what else I have here. Oh, this is where they're stealing that, whatever that stuff they were getting back on the Millennium Falcon, and then Lando's robot, she gets killed, and they use her inner brain to help out with navigation, and she gets her brain gets sucked into the navigational system of the Millennium Falcon, and that's when Lando gets injured in that shot, and Han takes over flying the Millennium Falcon, and just to get out, this whole scene here, he's being chased by TIE fighters. It was really, really good. Then he does light speed out of here. I just like this movie a lot. And it, again, got trashed. Why? Because they were hearing all these rumors, and then the critics don't like it, and then it got trashed even before it came out. We went and saw it. We loved it. I remember seeing it in the theater. There were 10 people in the theater. I felt so bad. After I walked out of that movie, I was like, this movie was really good. Just like the last Indiana Jones movie, and I'm not going to get into that. The Dial of Destiny, I thought was a really good Indiana Jones movie. Solo, another good movie. So, and at the end here, Solo hints that there's a smuggler or a pirate that he wants to he's going to take a job on for, and we all know who that is. It's Jabba the Hutt, and he looks at Chewbacca, and he says, "When have I ever let you down? Trust me, right?" And then he has that smile on his face, and then what's going to happen. He goes off, and then that's where we introduce him with Luke and Leia, right, in episode 4. But again, go back and watch Solo. go back and watch Rogue One. 2 great Star Wars movies, in my opinion. And I think that leads us back to where we were, beginning with episode 1. But this is my all about Star Wars. I hope that you... oh, wait. I'm not done yet. Wait a minute here. I want to talk about the soundtracks. So, there again, as you know, in all the Star Wars movies, you have soundtracks, right? All done by John Williams, which we know in my last episode we talked about Raiders of the Lost Ark, but John Williams did all the music for the Star Wars movies. I think he did them all. I think he did them for Rogue One. I think he did it for Solo. I'm not sure. Leave a comment below if I'm wrong. But out of all the Star Wars soundtracks, I have Star Wars. I have Empire Strikes Back. I have Return of the Jedi. I think I have Episode 1. But I like, out of all of them, I like Star Wars soundtrack. I like the Empire Strikes Back soundtrack. And I like Return of the Jedi soundtrack because they're the originals. If you go back and listen to Episode 1, 2, and 3, you'll hear a little bit of Episode 4, 5, and 6 in there. To me, I know John Williams had to put that in there to, as the scene was going on, it was referencing some of the old movies, so he put some of that music from Episode 4, 5, and 6 in. But to me, I didn't like that, right? And I don't have any of the soundtracks for 7, 8, 9. I don't have anything for Solo. I don't have anything for Rogue One. It is cool when you watch the movies, though, and hear the music. Solo's music's pretty good, I thought. But I like the original trilogy music, in my opinion. And again, John Williams. You can't beat that, right? So, as I was saying earlier, this was episode 2, all about Star Wars. I hope you enjoyed this. Again, I want to bring up the other channel I have, which is Mr. Stan 913. We have again our crafts, our travel, and our how-to, and I'm posting a lot of like spring things out there for people, anything for graduation ceremonies. I know we're around graduation time, but that channel is not going away. We will be traveling. You'll see some of our travels this summer, and maybe in the fall. And any products I have, I will demo them for you, or anything I'm going to fix around the house, I'll show you how to do that. And there is a lot of videos out there we have now in the channel, but it's not going away, like I said. And I'm going to continue here on the Stano Show to bring you more movie reviews, more entertainment. I'm thinking about bringing in some entertainment news. To me, I have to build that information. It takes time, but I'm thinking a way of bringing in entertainment news. If you have any ideas for me, if you have any thoughts that you'd like me to talk about, put it in the comment below. Post something on my page, on the Stano Show page. I would appreciate that. But that's going to do it for this week's episode. I hope you continue to come to this channel. I hope you continue to watch. And as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you again soon.